multidisciplinary artist, surface pattern designer, and socially engaged art practitioner. I am from here, born and raised, grew up in Northwest DC. I went to college in North Carolina, A&T State University. There, I double majored in social work and visual arts and design, and A&T changed my life. And so I always start with this because I think it's really important to talk about the communities that made us who we are today. And so A&T was a very transformational experience for me, both as a person and as an artist. And so kind of going into the artwork, my time at A&T during my senior year, I was working on my senior art exhibition, and my grandmother passed away while I was working on that. And it was very difficult. It was my first time having to face grief and art at the same time. And so as someone with a background in social work, I talked a lot about healing and art therapy, but this was my first time really having to deal with it on my own in that type of practice. And so that's when I started incorporating fabric into my work. And so I grew up sewing. I was like sewing pillows by hand in elementary school. I had a really cool studio set up in my bedroom, and my parents gave me like full creative freedom to do whatever I wanted. And my grandmother had a lot of quilts around. She loved antiques. She collected them. And she motivated me to be creative and to make things. And so when she passed, I decided to tap back into my creative freedom that I had as a child. And so the years before she passed, we got extremely close. It was the best relationship we had ever had with each other. And every day in our living room, she would sit across from this like work of art. And every day she would sit in this chair and say, oh, those people look like they're having so much fun, or, oh, I love this work, or, oh, they're so happy. So she was talking about this piece of artwork every single day. And I'm very patient, so I would just listen to it every single day. But it wasn't until after she passed that I decided to like actually take a deeper look into the artwork. And I realized that it was a Faith Ringgold print. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like I grew up with a Faith Ringgold print in my house and I didn't even realize it. And at this time, I had recently learned about her and she was my favorite artist. And so when that happened, I was like, wow, like this is definitely, one, it's a sign. It feels very aligned for me. And it's also a reminder to tap back into fabric, tap back into like my creative freedom I had as a child. And so that's when I started working in fabric into my work. And so my work is all about love. It's about intimacy. It's about growing intimacy within myself, with people I love, and with community. And so this piece is called 1982, The 5 Stair Steps, Greatest Hits. Does anyone know the 5 stair steps? We got one person, 2 people. Okay. And so this is a series of 4 weavings that I did earlier this year. And earlier this year, I was working in a studio in Baltimore called Black Artist Research Space. And to end my time there, we decided to have an exhibition. And so it was a duo exhibition between myself and another artist, Cold Piece. And we decided to tap into our love for music in the way that we bonded in the space through music. So like staying up late, listening to music together, just having a good time, but then also our family connections to music and how music has shaped our lives. And so for me, I grew up in a home where my dad would blast music from the basement every day, all hours of the day. And so I grew up listening to a lot of funk and jazz and Motown. And that was a big part of the culture of my house. And so for these weavings, I decided to return back home. And me and my dad spent a few hours in his basement going through his records, talking about the stories attached to them. So whenever my dad would be playing music from the basement, every once in a while he would come upstairs and he would either tell me a fact about the artist playing. He would give me their whole bio, or he would tell me a story associated with that album, whether like he remembers the day it dropped, or like if it came at a really special time in his life. And so my dad was, one, he really loved music, and also he really has an art for storytelling. He doesn't realize it, but he does. And so yeah, I returned back to his basement to really just like spend time with him, build that relationship I have, and enjoy, you know, just listening to music, looking through the records. And we went through hundreds of records, but I decided to pull out the records that have some type of mutual bond between the both of us. And so this vinyl stood out to me because, one, I had never heard of them before. I knew their most popular song, but I never knew who did it. And so I'm just gonna play it real quick because most people don't realize that they're the ones who actually did this song. Everybody knows this song. So that was mind-blowing to me because I was like, I know this song. I never knew who made the song. And it's a group of kids. And that was like the most mind-blowing part to me because it's a group of children. And my dad was around the same age as these kids when the song dropped. And so me and my dad bonded over that for a while. Just like, I was amazed. And my dad really loved them because they were the first family of soul before the Jackson 5. And my dad loved that they were singing these really mature love ballads and just these really beautiful songs as children. And so this is one of the weavings in that series. I also did a Stevie Wonder one, Shaka Khan, and the Commodores. And so with every weaving, I was listening to the album on repeat as I was weaving. And my process is very intuitive, so I don't plan any of my weavings out. And I can only see about this much at a time. So it's very much an act of me trusting that I know what I'm doing, trusting that my spirit, my ancestors, and my spiritual foundation is going to guide me as I'm making this weaving. And so I pulled inspiration directly from the vinyl and from when I was listening to the music. So I don't have the vinyl with me, it's at my parents' house, but I did happen to have this printout in my car just to reference like the colors. And so I pulled colors directly from the vinyl for the artwork. And there's also like little moments in here. So like these like orange patches, I made 5 of them. So there's these little moments in there where I intentionally decide to pull things from the artist and from the music. But overall, it's just really intuitive. And so it's just listening to the music and weaving. And the way that this works is whatever comes off the loom is what comes off the loom. And so it's really about me just, you know, trusting the process, trusting that whatever comes off this loom, it's going to be beautiful. One, because I created it. It's going to be beautiful because I created it with intention. And I guess one other detail, I started weaving because I was drawn to a particular type of weaving. It's a Japanese style of weaving, and it's all about the concept of individuality. It's all about releasing perfection. It's all about everyone has their own way of doing things. There's no right way to do it. So I was really drawn to the concept of that style of weaving, and it was very much aligned with my art practice. And so I took like a 2-hour-long class, and I fell in love with it. It was like a really basic class, but I just fell in love with it very quickly. And I ended up buying my own loom. And so for the past 1.5 years, I've just been like knocking out a whole lot of large-scale weavings. So yeah, it's my favorite medium now.